All right, today we're going to be reacting to Thomas Sowell, 5 best moments against the left. Jump in.
Barack Obama's great gifts is the ability to say things that are absolutely absurd and make them sound not only plausible but inspiring. But there are so many people among the intelligentsia especially who are absolutely immune to facts. It's as if they took their anti-fact shots every year, and the facts will just not affect them.
Thomas Sowell dismantles the left. Subscribe. Nancy Pelosi and Paul Krugman.
Yeah, you were mentioning economist Paul Krugman, the New York Times columnist as well, said that it's a big nothing burger. The tax is a nothing burger. Nancy Pelosi said that it hasn't amounted to being nearly as advantageous for average folks as was thought. Marco Rubio saying he wishes individuals got more out of this than we thought. What are they saying, and what are you saying?
I'm not at all sure what they're saying. Again, the short-term numbers don't usually tell you a lot. If I look back at the prior statements of Paul Krugman and Nancy Pelosi, I do not have an awful lot of confidence, and I'll give a lot of weight to what they say.
What about Paul Krugman?
They've been wrong big time before.
Yeah, what about Paul Krugman? Of course, he was never a fan of the tax. So he worried about that one adding to the deficit, not so much the $8.5 to $9 trillion in added spending that will be added to the deficit and debt over the years. What would you make of it?
Damn, $9 trillion, damn.
Well, again, you're right that Krugman takes this position. He's taken a lot of positions which are indefensible. So I'm not the least bit surprised that he's taken another one.
No, Crumsey is the communist guy. A Marxist, I think he is.
The fatal misstep of intellectuals is assuming that superior ability within a particular realm can be generalized to superior wisdom or morality overall. Chess grandmasters, musical prodigies, and others who are as remarkable within their respective specialties as intellectuals within theirs seldom make that mistake. Noam Chomsky, whom you write about in Intellectuals in Society, whose work in linguistics, in the first place I can't understand it, but as best I can tell, everyone who understands his technical work within the field, within his discipline of linguistics, considers him one of the great figures of the 20th century. And his work in politics?
Absurdity. The same could be said of Bertrand Russell and his landmark works on mathematics and other people in other fields, but they step outside their fields. And when you step outside your level of specialty, sometimes that's like stepping off a cliff.
And why is it that intellectuals, that is to say people whose end product is ideas, should succumb to that temptation more than, to use your example, a chess grandmaster?
Because a chess grandmaster can be world famous for doing absolutely nothing more than winning chess tournaments and making displays as many other.
This is where it comes down what LeBron James was talking about politics. You can literally notice that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's literally just a basketball player. When he started talking about politics, you can tell that he was not a well-read individual. He doesn't understand politics at all. Not at all. A lot of these pop artists, they go through the same thing. They think that because they're very well-rounded in their profession, that they have the ability or the knowledge to go through these topics. And I follow politics very closely, and even myself, I would not even consider a person well-rounded to just talk about these things. Crazy.
Do of playing 5 chess games simultaneously while blindfolded.
But intellectuals, what? They languish in obscurity, no matter how smart.
Well, the whole question of when is someone well known or not came up during the visit of Jim Flynn from New Zealand here a few years ago. He's one of the world's authorities on IQ tests. people, in India know about Jim Flynn. People in England, he made a world tour. But I doubt if the people in the next block from where he lives know who he is.
Huh.
If Noam Chomsky had just kept on stating in linguistics, neither of us probably would have ever heard of Noam Chomsky. He would have been just as famous around the world among linguists, but nobody else would have heard of him.
Wow. AOC.
What do you make of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? She has this growing movement, even among some people who historically haven't been particularly persuaded by the socialist meme. I mean, but there's something about her that seems to be very popular. Do you think it's going to continue, or will she fall flat?
I don't know. Again, it depends upon whether people go by facts or by rhetoric. If they go by rhetoric, she's a rising star.
Now, I would like you to take a look at a brief video of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who at the age of 29, calling herself a democratic socialist, has just been elected to the House of Representatives from New York. And although she's not seated yet in the new Congress, she went to Washington, and one of her first acts was to participate in a sit-in in the offices of House Majority Leader Nancy Pelosi. That is to say, the leader of her own party.
Yes.
So here's a brief video.
I just want to let you all know how proud I am of each and every single one of you for putting yourselves and your bodies and everything on the line to make sure that we save our planet, our generation, and our future. And it's so
Save our planet? What?
incredibly important. We have to get to 100% renewable energy in 10
Damn,
years.
100%,
There's no
bro.
rush.
Wow.
Tom, to her supporters, to the supporters of Bernie Sanders, to young Americans, what would you say?
I would say get some facts first. Know what you're talking about before you start spouting out this kind of stuff.
A recent YouGov poll found that 19% of millennials, 1 in 5 young Americans, holds a favorable view of communism.
Yes.
Damn,
Now,
that's
let me
sad.
quote one of these young millennials,
That is sad.
a new member of Congress, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who represents the Bronx, not all that far from where you grew up. Quote, "To me, capitalism is irredeemable." Close quote. Tom Sowell replies,
To me, she's irredeemable.
but to the, okay, so let's set Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to one side.
Damn. He went straight to the jaw, huh?
When Hillary Clinton said, it takes a village to raise a child, and someone said it takes a village idiot to believe that. What they're saying is they want to come in there and tell them. You see, it's part of the whole thing of third parties wanting to make decisions for which they pay no price when they're wrong.
Yep.
You see, when the parent raises the child the wrong way, the parent pays the price when the child goes down the tubes. But these third parties can sit back in their wherever they are, Washington or whatever, and if the things they tell us turn out to be wrong, it doesn't hurt them.
Barack Obama, huh? You can tell Thomas Sowell was very strong against Obama because he doesn't have the guilt that a lot of white Americans have, even Europeans. And he, from the beginning, was really hitting right in the, right in the jaw, not afraid. And the Obamas, now that I'm a little bit educated on the topic, Obamas are elitists. These people are elitists. And again, it's just one of those things like with the Clinton. All of a sudden, you see people disappearing because you said something wrong about the Obama. That's crazy.
My attitude is that if the economy is good for folks from the bottom up, it's going to be good for everybody. If you've got a plumbing business, you're going to be better off if you've got a whole bunch of customers who can afford to hire you. And right now, everybody's so pinched that business is bad for everybody. And I think when you spread the wealth around...
Wow, what in the hell he's saying?
Spread the wealth around in the name of greater equality for bus drivers and plumbers and construction workers.
Wow.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong is the track record of spreading the wealth around. of what has happened around the world and what is happening under the Obama administration is an attempts to spread their wealth, or in fact spreading poverty.
Why?
Because you attack the people who are creating the most wealth, not only for themselves, but society. Don't forget, people don't get wealth just because they're greedy. They get wealth because other people voluntarily pay them their money. And they voluntarily part with their money only because they're getting something that they consider worth it.
So when President Obama says he wants to spread the wealth around, what he's saying is he wants to insert the government into voluntary
Transaction.
which doesn't work.
And it doesn't work for a very simple reason.
Right.
The people at the high end of the income scale don't just stand still to be sheared like sheep. They send their money overseas, as they're doing now. I was reading the other day about some company, that needs some money for expansion or whatever, and they have overseas branches. Now they're making that money overseas, but they're borrowing money here instead of bringing it home, and they don't bring it home because it'll be taxed to death if they bring it home.
Wow.
Now you keep raising the taxes, and they'll do more and more of their businesses overseas, and the jobs that are created will be created overseas. So this is not, whether they have high or low taxes on the rich is going to affect the rich a lot less.
Oh, you know what? My question has always been like, how is it that people cannot? How can I say this? It seems like as conservatives, they have done a very poor job in trying to spread this kind of message, because their idea do work, but however, I must say, however, they have done a very bad job of spreading this great economical miracle, or I would say, capitalism. They have done a bad job. They're always in the defense. They cannot sustain anything. They cannot conserve anything. Most importantly, they cannot push anything back. It's crazy. You have a guy like Thomas Sowell that's almost 100 years old, and you cannot take advantage of the guy. It's weird.
It is going to affect people who are looking for jobs, and people who have small businesses like hardware stores and whatnot who can't move overseas.
How come you see that and Barack Obama doesn't?
Oh my goodness! Well, his whole life has been spent among people who have an entirely different vision of the world.
Different from ordinary Americans, different from you?
Both.
All right, and their vision,
Well, for one thing, it tends to be a one-step vision. They don't say what are going to be the repercussions of this if I do this, and so they think that we shouldn't have tax cuts for the rich. You say because that the rich don't need it, don't deserve it, and so forth, and
their analysis ends there.
And it ends there.
Right.
Whereas if you look back through history, you find that when you had very high taxes on upper income people, you didn't collect as much revenues in many cases as you did with lower taxes.
Yeah, you never do.
One more video clip, Tom, if you don't mind.
It's hard to argue against that. Warren Buffett's secretary shouldn't pay a higher tax rate than Warren Buffett. It is wrong that in the United States of America, a teacher or a nurse or a construction worker who earns $50,000 should pay higher tax rates than somebody pulling in $50 million. Explain why somebody who's making $50 million a year in the financial markets should be paying 15% on their taxes, when a teacher making $50,000 a year is paying more than that, paying a higher rate.
What?
They ought to have to answer for that.
Wow. He is lying through and through, huh?
Pledge to keep that kind of unfairness in place. They should.
Have you even done the math? 15% of $50 million? Like, bro, like that's almost what? At one point, that's almost $2 million, right? No, that's what? 10% of 5% of 50 million, right? That's what, 5 million? So probably what? But it's 10, well, so probably like 5.5 or $6 million in taxes. That's crazy, man.
Remember the last time I
He
checked,
just
the
lying through
only
his teeth.
pledge that really matters is the pledge we take to uphold the Constitution.
Fuck.
So,
Didn't
by the
say
way, I have to
anything.
make a brief factual correction. He referred to Warren Buffett's having made $50 million. Warren Buffett later announced that last year he'd made $62 million.
Yeah, well, let's not underestimate Warren Buffett.
All right, so, but he kept, the President of the United States kept talking about
That's
the prima
insane.
facie unfairness of a secretary, what did he say, a teacher or a nurse or a construction worker paying a higher rate than a hedge fund manager or one of the richest men in the world, Warren Buffett. Now, there's something to that, isn't there?
One of Barack Obama's great gifts is the ability to say things that are absolutely absurd and make them sound not only plausible but inspiring. First of all, the vast majority of taxes are paid by people in the upper 10% of the income thing. So the whole picture that he's painting there has no relationship to reality. It may well be that if someone has capital gains, that they will pay a lower rate of taxation in a given year. Of course, capital gains are not there in a given year. You may have stock options accumulating over 5 or 10 years, and then in 1 year when you cash them in, that year you have a spike in your income.
Right.
And so the capital gains tax takes into account the fact that this wasn't all earned that particular year, even though you got it that year.
Right.
So it's ludicrous, but it's very clever ludicrousness.
Mm.
Also, I had to imagine that putting more taxes on those people that are in their 10%, you're disincentivizing the fact that they can make more money because they're too worried about paying the taxes. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one.